So today's breaking news is Boris Johnson has said by year 2030 all petrol and diesel cars will be banned in the UK, which is very, very good. I'm quite happy to hear something like this. We've recently seen that the Paris Treaty is going to be rejoined by America because Biden wants to, which is very good. Also, recently, a lot of other stuff has been going on. In fact, they had a meeting with the World Economic Forum back in January. You had all these like top people, including from UK. You had Prince Charles. You had what's his name, Donald Trump from USA, and XYZ. So many different people, and the agenda was called the Great Reset, which means they're going to reset everything basically, which is really good. Because I don't know if you know about the history. There was a big problem during the when the cars came out and everything. Um, petrol, basically, petrol giants, they kind of controlled everything basically because there's more money in petrol, so sell as much as possible. But clearly, there's some sort of an incentive for all of them, and I think this has got something to do with the Great Reset. So let's talk about what Boris Johnson said, and let's embrace the change, right? So the change is very simple. Boris Johnson wants all petrol cars and all diesel car manufacturing to be banned in the UK from year 2030, and I'm all for it, right? Which is really good. Also, Boris Johnson is going to be investing 12 billion pounds in new infrastructure to capture carbon emissions and whatnot and this and that. They want to go nuclear fusion. They want to go to what's it called, wind turbine stuff or hydrogen powered stuff, right? Which is brilliant. All of these ideas are fantastic, right? uh, I mean, I'm sure we have evolved enough to basically understand certain, how we can use nature to our advantage. Because currently the electricity they're producing and the cars that you're got is actually not efficient. You have to burn a lot of physical material like coal, i.e., oil, whatever, burn to produce oil. So the the amount you're burning is not really that efficient. It's not a one-to-one ratio or something like that. You're still burning fuel. So ultimately, if you can go to nature, then we do get it for not free, but theoretically close enough, right? Which means if we do go down that route, we should be getting cheap fuel for home, cheap electricity. We should be powering everything by electricity, which would be fantastic and cheap. Also, the other thing is if all cars are this, then we're going to definitely change the climate, which is fantastic. Again, I'm all up for it. I love it. Only one problem I have is Boris Johnson has said 10 years, right? So he's obviously said banning new car production, which is fantastic. But what happens to people who already existing have petrol cars and diesel cars? What are the plans for those? Also, hybrid cars will also be made up to a certain amount of time, and then hybrid cars will be banned because they want pure electricity. My argument here is very simple. How much money has Boris Johnson and the government set aside to compensate people, or for people to change, right? So instead of Boris Johnson spending 12 billion in capturing carbon emissions, right, from the sky, why don't you just give 12 billion to the people of United Kingdom to go and change all of their vehicles to electric? Do it now. I think it's a great idea. Whatever your car is worth on a one-to-one ratio, pay them for that car. They'll top it up, buy another car, job done, problem solved. So this is the kind of a thing I'm looking at because they've made plans. I mean, we know about this whole bodge up that they had, like from all the way from like March, right, with this lockdown, right? Literally every other week they kind of changed their plans because they had no bloody idea what they're doing. But anyway, leave that aside. We'll call it a mishap. We like future plans, and future plans is that from 2030, all diesel and petrol cars will be banned, so the production will be banned, which is fantastic. Hybrid cars will be made up to a certain amount of time, and then they'll be also banned, which is fantastic. In my what I want to say is, I would really love to see petrol and diesel completely banned globally, which is much better. And let's all use electricity. Let's all use nature. In fact, I'm just going to throw a little spanner in there. Do you know what, guys? Go back. The government. This is for you. Go back and look at the study and all the experiments Tesla did. You know, Nikola Tesla, that guy. And maybe you might want to use some of his stuff. That might really help as well. But anyway, that's entirely up to you. It's just a suggestion. But yeah, I just want to see how the government help the people do this, because ultimately, when they do something like this, it's the people who pay for it, right? You know, there'll be fines, there'll be all sorts of taxation, there'll be all sorts of crazy stuff going on, and the public will have to bear the burden of all of the costs, right? So there's these things. I'm sure they have some sort of a bill or something. Basically, they've written down some sort of plan, a roadmap, we call it, right? Let's hope we see something like this. But ultimately, just making a few suggestions. I think basically they might as well just distribute the 12 billion to people, and guess what? They don't have to capture the carbon and store it for infinity, which is useless to us. We'd rather have carbon cars completely replaced with non-carbon or carbon neutral cars. Pure electric. I mean, hey, what the hell? We might as well have a country, the first of its kind, where everybody drives a Tesla. If the government really wants to fund it that way, that is. I'm sure there's some sort of an incentive they could create. But yeah, I'm all good for that. And I really look forward to the point where basically our electricity bill costs pretty much the same as what we run a car on. So like £3 of electricity currently will charge up your car, and you can run it for 300 miles. I think £3 a month is brilliant, right? Why would you say no? So anybody out there who's against climate change and whatnot and this and that, guys, you have no idea what you're talking about. Boris Johnson picked up the best one, and we need to support him so we can get to that level where we're going to be spending less money for our electricity bills and our energy consumption. And also we need to support him and hopefully push him to the point where he or any government who's in power, because he's not going to be around in 2030, we know that for sure. But the point is in 2030, whichever government comes in, definitely has to have something there where people like me who drive a diesel car will get a replacement. I'm already being penalized with congestion charges, with ultra low emission charges and whatnot, and you name it. God knows how many other charges are going to come out. But ultimately, I embrace it because I know that the government that's going to be there in 2030 or whenever it comes out will definitely support me and give me the equivalent of whatever money my car's worth for me to replace it, or maybe even now start replacing people's cars. So something to think about, and I hope everybody supports them, and everybody pushes this in Parliament, and we get a nice little winning vote that favours the people more than anybody else. Because usually when it comes to oil, fuel or whatnot, it's always been corporations, right? People who produce oil, they're the ones who've been benefiting. I mean, think about it, it's the black oil market, right? Where people have become billionaires, right? You can go and look at Saudi princes and this and that, whatever, right? Everyone, whoever's touched oil is billionaires. So ultimately, if we can now stop making billionaires and actually empower the people to have a better life, a better comfort, low emission, all sorts of other stuff. It's great, right? Climate change is fantastic. We want that. That's what we need. So we can have a better life, and our children can prosper. We can save more money, and hopefully have some sort of a equality in society. So this whole thing about the 1% being the richest in the planet, and then the 99% basically just being a bunch of slaves and just getting along. Hopefully we won't have any of those situations, and we can get to a level where we can have some sort of a economical equality where pretty much everyone is empowered the same way, and as I suggested, everybody drives a Tesla. So hope you take this, and guys, don't be against them. Support them. Put some sort of a petition or something, whatever you call them, right? Change.org or whatever, right? Sign some of them and tell them how we support them. Boris Johnson, we do support you on this idea. We just need to know that basically we're also going to have some sort of a means in order for us to replace our vehicles, and ultimately energy costs will be so low, similar to what we're paying now, that it is going to be electricity generation all the way through, and that's what I would love to see. So thank you very much, and if you like what I've done, make sure, Boris Johnson, subscribe to my channel, because there's more to come. Take care.